You're listening to the Exploring Fitness Podcast, episode 18. In this episode, we discuss what you get when you mix an integrative family medicine physician, a strength and conditioning coach, and a registered dietitian. In 3, 2, 1, go. I'm Dan Dalator. In over 10 years of experience as a clinician and a coach, I've worked with hundreds of athletes to help them improve their health, wellness, and fitness, but still feel that there is so much more for all of us to learn. This is a podcast dedicated to furthering our understanding of health, wellness, fitness, and how to apply these concepts into our daily lives to create true and lasting changes in your fitness and health. This is the Exploring Fitness Podcast. If you go back to episode 1 of this podcast, I discussed the 4 supporting models of CrossFit, one of those being the sickness, wellness, fitness continuum. This continuum goes from sickness on one extreme end to wellness being in the middle and fitness being the other extreme end of the continuum. And almost any measurable health marker, from things on a blood panel to heart rate and blood pressure to strength measurements, can be placed along this continuum at either sickness, wellness, or fitness levels. Dialing in a majority of these markers can help someone stay as healthy and as functional as possible for as long as possible. This prevention of health and function slipping to a point of debility can be seen as increasing the health span for as long as possible, or improving an individual's longevity. And that's exactly what my next guests are aiming to do. Their longevity health model has combined the resources of an integrative family medicine physician, a strength and conditioning coach, and a registered dietitian to deliver an all-encompassing program to help people increase their longevity. All right. Thanks everybody for joining us for another episode. My guests today are the co-founders of Longevity Maine, a cutting-edge, personalized, proactive healthcare experience. Dr. Ben Hagopian is a board-certified family physician with an expertise in integrative medicine. He founded his own direct primary care practice, Maine Integrative Family Care, in 2020. And Michael Leary is an exercise physiologist and a National Strength and Conditioning Association certified strength and conditioning coach. He is a master's athlete himself, so he fully understands the challenges of staying fit when life gets busy. Together, they have created a preventative care program that is comprehensive, evidence-based, and focused on optimizing long-term health and performance. Ben and Michael, welcome to the Exploring Fitness Podcast.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, stoked to be here.
Yeah, thanks for agreeing to be on here. I'm super excited about the conversation that we're about to have. Can you guys just tell the audience a little bit about yourselves, stuff that I might have missed in the little intro there? Ben, you want to start?
Sure. So I think you gave a fantastic intro. So I'm Ben Hagopian. I am a family physician. I have extra training in integrative medicine, which is more kind of holistic approaches to healthcare, more proactive. Working in the healthcare system for a number of years, it was cool to work in the hospital setting and take care of people's problems, but I always felt like I was looking for something more, which is more preventive, more lifestyle-based, and more evidence-based for just preventing chronic disease, which is, I think, the number one threat to the health of Mainers and Americans. So I started my own practice about 5 years ago, and then the last couple of years, I felt like there was something missing in my practice in this community, and we'll talk about this in a few minutes, but Michael and I connected, and we both kind of had similar ideas around the same time to start an evidence-based longevity clinic, marrying the different disciplines of an optimal health plan. So that's my.
Cool. Michael?
Love it. I'm Michael Leary. I've been passionate about training and overall health for a really long time. I grew up very unhealthy and had a hospital stay that led to realizing that things needed to change, and therefore became like a personal path of self-discovery, which led to going to college to pursue learning everything I could about health and wellness and training. And I worked alongside a gym for a decade, and then recognized that I wanted to have an impact greater than just being in Portland. So I built an online training and nutrition company, where now I can work with people who are competing athletes to very busy entrepreneurs and parents to people who are getting older and just recognize that movement's important and they want to be able to do the things they want to do. So if you feel very fulfilled in being able to help guide people to live a higher quality of life. And similar with Ben, like being able to put all the components together, which we'll dive deeper into, is very fulfilling. And frankly, I'm just lucky to be able to do this every day.
Cool. Love it. So before we get into the formal questions that I sent you guys, the first question that I always ask all my guests is, what is fitness to you? So whichever one of you wants to start, you guys can each give your own separate answers, or you can give like
answer for that?
a longevity main collective answer. Either way.
Personally, I have an individual ethos, which is essentially I never want to feel like a liability, and I want to be able to unapologetically do anything physically that I want to be able to do. So I never want a lack of fitness to be a hindrance to living a high quality life.
Love it. Never be a liability. So that's like lacking debility, essentially, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
And for me, like I'm very into, more adventure sports and things like that, where there might be a level of inherent risk. So also just wanted to make sure like I can protect myself to the degree that I can, but also those that I'm around. I feel a sense of responsibility for.
What kinds of adventure sports?
Surfing, climbing, mountain biking, skiing.
Love it.
A lot of them.
Cool. Ben?
I would just say, I would piggyback on that. That's a better answer than I'll give. But I would just say doing the things you enjoy doing, and also being able to do the things that you need to do. That would include things like carrying wood for the wood stove and picking up your grandkids. And so I think it's a combination, and I think that definition would vary by individual.
Yeah. I like that definition, because if you think about it, like, you need to do the things you need to do, but it shouldn't be a maximal effort to do those things, right? Like, yeah, there's a term that's called like 1 rep max living. Like, if your 1 rep max is a 25-pound deadlift and your laundry basket weighs 25 pounds whenever it's full, like, you're 1 rep maxing your laundry basket every time you need to lift it or carry it up the stairs or something. Like, that's not optimal, right? Yeah. So I guess like dive a little bit deeper into what like ultimately inspired you guys to team up and create Longevity Maine.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of serendipitous. I mean, we have been, acquaintances, friends for a number of years, and ended up giving Michael a call about a mutual patient, and 2 to 3 years ago at this point. And I had started to think about doing the medical side of longevity medicine, and during that call, he had a similar idea to partner with a medical practitioner to start a kind of like a multi-provider, multi-practitioner practice. And so that was kind of how the idea was born, to partner with medical, movement. And we also have a dietitian who wasn't able to be here today, but the three of us partner, and we take care of each patient individually. And anyway, that was the beginning of the story, and how the three of us kind of came together to create something unique.
Awesome. Yeah, it's not every day that you see like a physician and a strength coach working so closely together. How do you guys feel like your separate backgrounds kind of complement each other and like help bring this program together?
I think they complement each other really well, largely for the fact that like strength and conditioning and just like awareness of where one's at within that is my entire world. And for Ben, it's the internal health markers and kind of managing the health side of the human. And so being able to have our individual focuses where our expertise lie and then combining those, then the patient's going to be well managed in every facet of life. So, and that was for me the reason why I wanted to pursue this relationship as well was, you can hit all the markers you need to within your training and, nutritionally, but you want to still be able to see what's going on under the hood and have results from lab work and be able to have that depth of understanding of how they're doing. And so having that partnership is really valuable to be able to put the two together.
Yeah, you say depth of understanding. Like, I'm guessing that like you guys have been learning a lot from each other. Like, is that true? Or
Yeah.
some examples?
Nerding out together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we built the whole over the last year plus. We've done hundreds of hours of research into the data and the evidence and what we think really matters most for people's health. And so we built the entire curriculum. We had to sit down and kind of, sometimes correct each other, sometimes negotiate of like what's the best way forward for this part of the program, that part of the program.
Yeah.
And I think it's really nice. I think we have similar levels of exercise background. He's obviously got far more certifications, but we both used to CrossFit together, and we both value high levels of patient service. And so I think it's not just fitness background, but it's like kind of partnership fit led to this as well.
Mm-hmm.
I completely agree. And on that level, like there's overwhelmingly the most important piece is for me is the experience the patient's going to get, and any clients that we work with, like I want them to feel completely supported in whether things are going overwhelmingly great or it's a really, really hard time in life. Like I want them to feel that they have support and someone they can lean on. And what has made this partnership so great is that Ben shares that same feeling. And then once we both realized that, it was very valuable as a business. It was a very valuable connection to be made.
Awesome. How do you guys define longevity? I guess either like for this program specifically or just in general.
I was just going to say it's really living for as long as possible, living as well as possible for as long as possible. So,
okay. As well as possible for as long as possible.
We don't like, in the conventional system, we'll often see people not be super active, not eat so well, and have a slow, steady decline, which is what we're trying to avoid. That would be hopefully over decades and not months or years. We are trying to have people live very well for decades into the future so that their functional status continues at a high level.
Yeah. I've heard two separate terms, kind of like lifespan, how long somebody is actually living, versus health span. What you were just saying, how long are they living like in a functional capacity? So you're trying to expand that health span as long as possible.
Maximize the health span. Yeah, we cannot reverse, age-related, muscle loss, but we can slow it down, optimize what people are working with. So that's what we're trying to do.
Awesome.
I agree. Being 80 years old to one person is a drastically different experience than to somebody else. Like I have a good friend who he's an older gentleman. He's 80 and he's going ice climbing tomorrow for a full big day on Mount Washington. His 80 and what he's doing is a stark contrast to 80 where someone's sitting in a home, hoping that a family member might visit them for the day.
Right.
And a lot of that is predicated and is the outcomes of the lifestyle choices they made in their younger decades.
So how do you guys approach it through the program, through both like the training side and the healthcare side?
So typically the first step is for people who join our program, the patients fill out an extensive intake form, which covers their medical history, their health habits, their goals. And I start with the medical examination. And so that's reviewing all of that stuff with them. That intake form is shared with the whole team. So it's shared with Michael, it's shared with Nicole, our dietitian. And I basically do an initial assessment. We do blood biomarkers. And then we prioritize what the patient's goals are, and also kind of medically what I think they need the most work on. And whether it's nutrition, whether it's exercise, whether it's certain types of testing, like they need a body composition scan. We're doing more advanced scans like coronary calcium scans, sleep studies, and those types of things. We're using continuous glucose monitors quite a bit. So kind of what are the low-hanging fruit to start with of what's going to give this patient in front of us the most bang for their buck in terms of health span. After that, again, it really varies on the individual patient, but I would send them to Michael and Nicole in no particular order, depending on the patient, and then we collaborate based on my initial assessment, the biomarkers, the test results, and the patient goals. We build the program for each patient.
Well, what kinds of biomarkers, like specifically, you testing for in the majority of individuals?
So many. So we do have a full panel.
Give me like the highlight.
Yeah. So I mean, the basic blood work that many people get at their physical would be like a blood count, kidney, liver function, cholesterol, and then that's usually it. We're usually doing far more extensive testing. We're doing in-depth lipid testing. So we're doing standard lipid panel, apolipoprotein B. We're doing cholesterol particle size. We're doing high sensitivity C-reactive protein. We're doing omega-3 levels. We're doing thyroid testing. We're doing urine testing. We're doing an extensive test for vitamins and minerals. So we find a lot of people, incidentally, have low iron, low vitamin D, which is everywhere here in Maine. Homocysteine is another one that we look at for vascular risk and dementia risk. So all of those, and then we repeat certain labs every 6 to 12 months, depending. Sooner if someone has a major deficiency, let's just say someone's low in iron, we start depleting their iron, we're going to check it sooner than 6 months. That's what I would say.
Cool.
Yeah.
We know that strength is like a huge predictor of longevity, right? Like grip strength is directly correlated with morbidity and mortality. How do you guys incorporate the strength training into the program?
Yeah, definitely. So along the same lines of what Ben just described about like creating a lot of like dashboard of early metrics to see where somebody's at as a starting point, we do the same within their physical capacities. So we'll assess their VO2 max to look at their cardiovascular output. We'll also assess where they're at from a strength perspective. And first order of business is like if so many people suffer with chronic pain, so we'll first address that to try to reduce that and have an understanding as to why it's happening and overcome that. And then we look at where their strength is at. And for a lot of people, it's usually going to be deficient. And we have certain standards based on decade where we would like to see people. And for some people, it's like we work to get there, and then it's basically like maintaining that and enjoying the process and being able to apply their fitness in whatever degree they want to. And for other people, it's stepping backwards and building here's a roadmap with a ton of support to make sure that we can accomplish those in a safe capacity and also in a way that's enjoyable. Like ultimately, we want this to be a lifelong game, one in which you feel you can consistently do forever. So while we're like pursuing these and there's reasons why we want to increase one's strength, ultimately we really want to also focus on just overall adherence. and making it an enjoyable thing that they start to look forward to.
Cool. So like, same kind of question, like, what are you doing for strength testing? You running people through like the Army fitness test, or are you doing like more specific?
Yeah, so it kind of depends on one's level as to where they are. But essentially, we have within the standards that we have like a graduated system in terms of like this is kind of like the entry level barrier to entry. Like, can you perform an air squat pain free? And then we progress to a goblet squat, and a lot of them are relative to body weight. So looking at like, can you move a certain percentage of body weight for a certain amount of time or for a certain amount of reps? And ultimately that gets categorized. And then we have that as the starting metric. And for some people, they may be very deficient in one pattern and not so in the other. So we'll basically look at what are their glaring weaknesses and then really address that first, while everything else, maintains or slowly improves as well.
Cool. So this is a very like proactive, preventative approach, right? Correct. So
Can I also throw in, we also do, I think the goal with this program is to be, 80 to 100% proactive. We are also there for the reactive side. So I'm a primary care doctor. The patient has an issue, I'll treat it. They have pneumonia, treat that. Michael also deals with setbacks. If someone's got, like you said, pain or an injury that comes up, they tear a rotator cuff,
right.
Then we will react. The goal is to be as proactive as possible, but we also want people to know that we do both, which I think is unique for longevity programs. A lot of them are just like, we just do this one thing, and we're trying to take care of a patient's holistic needs.
Yeah, life happens.
Correct.
Yeah. You got to be reactive. So do you see the majority of people coming into it like thinking about the proactive side of things, or are they coming into it because of something that happened reactively? Or I guess the majority of people primarily seek out doctors or physicians, assistants when something goes bad. Like, how are you guys trying to change that mindset of people starting before they need to be reactive?
I think largely through education. So I think when it's easy to correlate, like, here's the things you're going to be able to do in your 70s and 80s based on where your VO2 max is today. Like, it's a really eye-opening experience to be able to be like, geez, I'm going to struggle to walk upstairs unless I improve this. I think for most people, though, they make a change when they experience a hardship themselves or see a family member experience a really bad diagnosis or pass away younger than they should. And that becomes a huge driver for like, I don't want to end up in that situation and I need to take agency over my health.
Right. So I would 100% agree. And taking that motivation and then putting it into action for people who are looking to be proactive and do something different than what the current healthcare system offers.
What do you feel like some of the most common like health problems or dysfunctions are that you guys see with people coming into the program?
It really depends on the person. I would say, lack of, and Michael might piggyback on this, but like lack of physical activity. I think that's one of them. And I think that's probably the number one thing that anybody listening to this could consider is like, just move more, You're looking for like specific medical conditions or
anything, yeah.
I think people are trying to maximize their health span, and then the medical side of the program was built around the 4 or 5 largest contributors to chronic disease and death, which are cardiovascular disease number 1. So that includes heart attack, stroke, and other diseases of the cardiovascular system, neurodegenerative disease, diabetes, metabolic dysfunction, which is probably the biggest threat to the largest number of people in the country, and cancers. And so how do we take those diseases and do everything we can to prevent them? We tell people, we can't guarantee you're not going to get this, that, or the other, but how do we optimize your chances? Give you the best chance to not develop this or to thrive with a diagnosis.
Yeah. So kind of like along those lines, like some of the overarching domains of like health, whenever I think about it, like the top ones that come to mind are like sleep and recovery, diet, exercise, stress, like community. Like how do you guys incorporate, like we've already touched on the exercise stuff a little bit. We know that you have a nutritionist. Like do you guys touch on sleep and stress and some of those aspects as well?
Absolutely. That's part of our intake and related to, so if somebody comes in, this is a big thing for preventing something like dementia, sleep is paramount. And so again, this is where the personalization comes in. Someone's coming in because a family member died of dementia in their 50s. We are aggressively looking into their sleep and managing that.
Like sleep study type stuff, or
Again, it depends on the person, but yes, we're doing sleep studies for almost all of our patients, and then we're optimizing sleep hygiene, looking at wearables, things like that.
how about the stress side of things? How do you minimize, like, are you measuring cortisol levels as part of like the panels?
That's a great question. We typically don't measure cortisol levels.
You said C-reactive protein, which is another like
a marker of inflammation. Yeah. Cortisol levels are tightly regulated by the body, and so I kind of think of a cortisol level along with some other hormones is if you draw it at that moment, you're getting a snapshot in that moment. I typically don't draw cortisol levels. If someone comes to me and says, I'm stressed, my cortisol must be high, can we check it? I say, well, we can check it. I'm still going to tell you the same exact thing if the level's high or low, which is we're going to work on stress. And so, again, that would be a personalized recommendation around, does this person need more social connection? Does this person working too much? Are they sleeping enough? Do they need to see a mental health counselor? Like, we are both advocates of therapy for the right person. And if someone comes in and we realize after the initial intake with all three of us is the biggest issue is stress, we're going to focus on it in whatever way works for that patient.
And on the exercise portion too, there's times too where somebody is just, they're managing so many things and then they're piling on and want to train very hard as a way to combat stress. And a lot of times I'll pull back the intensity of their training, govern that. So it becomes more of a recovery modality rather than adding more fuel to a fire that's already raging.
Yeah.
And for some people, it's like, I'll get as far as like actually monitoring what they're doing for their recovery inputs day to day. And look at kind of like their performance to see if their performance is sliding, even if they're very excited about training hard, to keep that in mind and keep that conversation fluid. And often each week I'll check in with people to make sure that they're hitting their recovery.
You mentioned wearables. Any like specific?
I mean, the two biggest ones we see are the Oura Ring and the Whoop, and it depends on the person. Some people hate them, some people love them. Again, personalized. I've heard patients say, "Oh, I need to wear this to track my sleep, and it helps me." And other people say, "It drives me crazy." Say, then don't wear one. But we can take that data and get some valuable insights.
Cool. Are you looking at like HRV and things like that, or along with like their sleep quality?
Correct. And I think that sleep, so the Aura and the Whoop are not sleep studies necessarily,
right.
But they could look at non-REM and REM sleep, and if there's any question, all of our patients give us 100%. Usually a home sleep study. The in-lab ones tend to be invasive. Most people I know don't like to sleep in a sleep lab, and so we have a relationship with the company where they send a device that goes home for 2 nights. They wear a pulse oximeter, they wear a nasal cannula, and a little chest strap, and that's it. Very, very simple.
Cool. Yeah, I'm guessing that the Whoop and Aura will like at least give you some preliminary data on like at least sleep duration and that kind of stuff, because most people tell you that they're getting 7 to 8 hours a night, but
It should be 7 to 8 hours of actually being asleep, not in bed.
right. Yeah. Look at the data, and it might look a little bit different.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things too, that's like, it's an easy thing to wake up in the morning and look at your stats, or even if it's once a week, looking back at the week averages. And a lot of times for the right people, that will modify their behavior and make changes that are going to be productive, even if it's like reducing screen time a little bit more, or reducing like liquid intake in the hour before bed, or eating a little bit earlier so they have more time to recover before they're laying down. And a lot of times that can be qualified by the data that you're getting from the wearables.
So you guys are covering a lot of different aspects of health, fitness. What were some of the biggest challenges of like wrapping all these different things up into one program?
I mean, it's a lot of stuff for patients. People that we have gotten and are interested in this are interested in data and optimizing their health span. It's, it's digestible easily if we do little bits at a time, like anything else. I mean, I don't know if you want to chime in here, but like when I see a patient, I'm only giving them 1 or 2 things at a time. If I give them 5, they will leave with their head spinning, not doing anything. Dan, you probably the same when you do physical therapy. Like, if you're only giving them little bits, great, come back. Let's start low, go slow, build on that. And then over time, we get to the important things. But I think that's the purpose of our intake form and initial visits with myself, Michael, our dietitian, Nicole, is let's uncover the things that jump right out at us. The patient.
Like you said, the low-hanging fruit.
Low-hanging fruit, and it's not always easy. I always tell patients, low-hanging fruit's like right in front of us. It might not be the easiest thing to do. Like, okay, you're a smoker, low-hanging fruit. Not easy to quit smoking, but it's right in front of us. We know that's the thing that's going to impact your health span the most. Let's try and work on it first. And then over time, we can get to the things that are still important, but maybe less urgent.
Yeah, completely agree. And I think everybody's going to have a unique experience. Like, we have some people who come in and they are so stoked, want all the data, and are willing to spend the next 2 weeks collecting a ton of data. And that becomes their identity. And then there's other people who are, managing a family and a business, and they're willing to do one thing a month. And I mean, we become the resource, and it becomes an ongoing relationship for years to come. So ultimately, this pace is set by the patient and the lifestyle that they're currently existing in. We just want to make sure that everything we're doing is supportive of not being overwhelming. It's achievable.
Did you guys run into any unexpected hurdles?
In terms of the business, or just
the business, or like developing the program?
I think the biggest hurdle, at least right now, is articulating quickly and accurately the depth and scope of practice. I think in terms of like actually building the practice and like what we do, I feel very set on that. It's mostly being able to, because people have an understanding of like, well, I go to a doctor that I see once a year for 6 minutes for a physical.
Right.
So like that's covered, and that's
she tells
everything.
me I'm fine.
She tells me I'm fine.
They're covering all this stuff.
And they say to exercise, so I exercise, and whatever that means to them. So for them, it's like understanding. I think the probably biggest challenge is articulating like the depth that we've been able to do, but we've been at this for 40 minutes. So it's understanding how to get that out to people for them to understand, and that's probably our biggest challenge.
Yeah.
What's in the future? Where do you guys see this going?
Hopefully, we increase our visibility, and we get more patients who really see the value in this, and growing this to other potentially other practitioners who are interested, who are passionate about the same types of things. But right now, we are content putting this out there and working with the practitioners we have and the quality of this. So we all feel really good about the quality of the service as well.
Yeah, and I second all of that, and also just think like so many people, I feel like now we have in society, a lot of people are becoming very health conscious and very aware. And then on the other side, people are becoming the most unhealthy they've ever been. So I think ultimately, like, our main mission is just to create awareness, whether people work with us or not, is to have the opportunity for them to understand that, like, they can take agency. Even making the smallest of changes will lead to drastically more positive outcomes in their later decades of life, which seems insignificant now, but really is going to matter to your family, your friends, the things that you get to do or can't do.
Yeah. What if people listening could make like one change to make a difference? Like, what do you think it would be? Is it physical activity thing, like you said earlier, or
It really depends on the person. I mean, I think most people listening to this, you did a great job listing off, right? Nutrition, movement, sleep, stress, connection. Most people listening have, I would say, most everybody I know has deficiencies in all of those, but some of them are small deficiencies and some of them are large. And so focus on the one that, you need the most. I think for many people, it's needing to move more and probably sleep a little bit more.
I agree. And then also, I think the other piece that I would add would be finding a community or finding support. It's an overwhelmingly difficult and scary experience to try to do this yourself and to even analyze like what should be improved, which is why you default to the things that are comfortable and that it's safe. So I think also like be okay putting yourself out there and joining a gym to be around other people. And so there's the community aspect, or reach out to a practitioner that can offer guidance and support and a little bit of accountability that's going to help you feel supported and like you can be successful. And a lot of times leaning on somebody else or other people can really help to leverage that as well.
Cool. Any plans for that kind of a thing, like within Longevity Maine, like a support group for like other current patients or people that are thinking about coming into it, like want more information, like reaching out to other current patients for?
Yeah, we've discussed something similar, having a community-based thing. I think that could be in the works in the future. I think if folks are interested in this, they can find us online at longevitymaine.co. We have a website. We have a newsletter, which is available on the website.
Social media.
We have social media. We are at Longevity Maine. And folks are welcome to email us as well. So Ben at longevitymaine.co, Michael at longevitymaine.co.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we're both, hopefully it came across this way, but very passionate about this. So it's one of those things that whether people work with us or not, like being able to have a conversation, and even if it gives one nugget of actionable insight and or creates a new level of awareness that empowers someone, like, yeah, reach out to Ben or I, have a discovery call to learn more information if that's valuable, or even just to like talk through what it could look like for you. There's going to be a lot of value in that.
Awesome. Thank you guys for coming on. Any parting words or anything? I think Michael just wrapped it up pretty well.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thanks again.
Really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks guys.